Hello, everybody, every beautiful recruiters, search firm owners, headhunters, staffing professionals. This is Headhunters Live, and today we have an amazing guest. We have Jackie Kibler, and she is an expert in the Entrepreneurial Operating System called EOS. We're going to bring her on in just a moment, but first, I want to introduce my beautiful co-host over here because we don't have Neil today. Neil is out, but we have Chris over here. What's up, Chris?
So I have to carry the looks on the show because Neil's not here. So, I don't know, it's a tough job. I think
we all look better. We all look better by comparison.
I don't know. It's I don't know. It's a little different when it's just me and you. But
yeah, it is. Yeah, we don't like. I don't have anybody to really make fun. I make fun of you a little bit, but I love making fun of Neil.
He's such an easy target, though, and he's such a good sport about it, more or less.
He's such a good sport. Yeah, such a good sport. Well, like I said, today, guys, we have an amazing show with Jackie Kibler. Hopefully, I see I'm a little bit. My camera, for some reason, it's I don't know if it's not quite as smooth. So hopefully that gets fixed during the course of this broadcast.
Audio's fine, at least.
Audio's fine, at least. Yeah, that's the important part. But before we bring Jackie on, everybody's watching this live. Make sure, please comment live down below. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. Make sure you share the show with everyone that you know, and give us a like or a comment or whatever. Even if it's an angry face, if you're watching this on Facebook, we don't care. We just want your emotion because that feeds the hungry algorithm.
We just want attention. We don't care if it's good or bad.
Exactly. So with that said, we have some beautiful sponsors here. Let's start off with Back Office Staffing Solutions. Full disclosure, this is Neil's company. If you are in a direct hire staffing, a direct placement, retained, whatever, and you want to smooth out your revenue ups and downs, get out of the feast and famine, and you want to get into contract staffing or temporary staffing, well, unfortunately, when you get into that business, you have workers' comp, you've got insurance, you've got funding payrolls, the worst, right? And so it's a big pain in the butt. There's lots of admin work that you probably don't have time for as well. So his company handles everything. It's some of the best rates in the industry, some of the best service, and they have a branded app that's completely white labeled. So you can have this app that you can use for your clients, your candidates, for your timesheets and your billing, etc. So all complimentary. So go to backofficenow.com, check them out. Tell them that we sent you from the show. In addition, Neil has a book called the Smart Recruiters AI Handbook. You can go buy it at Amazon. However, if you want to cheat Neil out of his couple pennies of commission, instead, you can go to backofficenow.com/AI to download it for free and stick it to the man. Anyway, that said, go download the guide. And also, for those who don't know, I run a company called the Digital Headhunter. We build sales and marketing systems. I've worked with over 600 firms on 6 continents. Haven't quite broken into Antarctica yet, but working on completing the set. But we build sales and marketing systems completely done for you, and we either deliver it over to you manage it, or we'll manage it on your behalf. But in essence, if you want to quit banging your head against the wall trying to figure out your tech stack and how to actually put all this stuff together, make it work, we have years of experience, a huge track record. Go to realdsp.me/system, and there is a video on there showing you exactly how all this works. And lastly, you can go to the digitalheadhunter.com/AI-proof to download my AI guide, which is called the AI Proof Recruiter. And it's actually really more about how to compete in an industry that is being transformed by AI and how to still survive. All right. So with that said, let's bring on our guest. So Jackie.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. Let's put you up top here, and I want to cover your face because we are going to show our little title card. There we go. Jackie Kibler. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Kibler?
It's Kibler.
Oh, Kibler.
Like
Kibler.
Kibbles and bits, you know?
I remember, I probably say Kibler because
you thinking of wrestling? Stacy Kibler? I knew it.
I'm at heart a redneck. I'm sorry, man. I'm from Florida, and I do love my WWE. Oh, Stacy Kibler was I had a crush on her for a long time. So that's who I was thinking of when I see Kibler.
Now he's all thrown off. I'm gonna have to talk for a little while because DSP needs a minute.
Oh, she was a beaut. Yeah, I still watch wrestling to this day. So my son and I watch it. So it's good father son stuff. It's like soap opera for men in little tights, but whatever. All right, so Jackie, before the shit goes off the rails, for the people who don't know what you do, who are you and what do you do?
Beautiful. So yeah, my name is Jackie Kibler. I'm an expert EOS implementer. What that means is I work with companies who want to grow their business while also creating a foundation that's stable that can support the growth. It was based off of book Traction, which I actually have one here, written by Gino Wickman. And what I love about it is it's just a simple set of tools that there's a cadence for, and us in recruiting, we know we need to have a cadence to reach our goals. But it gives it a cadence to help make sure that it can actually work within any business.
And I think it's really good. It's kind of an interesting two-sided discussion today too, because besides talking about EOS and because if you haven't heard of it, how it can help like your business, I've encountered a lot of companies that use it as their framework. And especially because I hire for a lot of smaller companies, let's say less than like 200 employees. And there are an abundance of those that subscribe to that framework. And I think getting familiar with it as a recruiter also has a benefit, because I'll see stuff in like a job description or their website that like hints at it. And I'm like, oh, you guys use EOS? They're like, oh, how'd you know? I'm like, oh, I saw you mention like level 10 meetings or rocks or whatever. And they're like, oh. And all of a sudden they warm up to you because they're like, oh, we're talking the same language here. So anyway, go on.
Yeah. No, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I also run this like pre-EOS entrepreneurs group, which I ran today. And one of them is what we call a visionary. So think of a CEO or a founder of a business. And we're going to be trying to help him in getting an integrator or COO/president, right? And when you find that right fit, your firm, your company can just skyrocket.
Oh, yeah. And you'll see a lot of times, because a lot of times I'll work with a founder who's either ready to step out completely, or step aside to maybe they're focused on sales and marketing and handoff operations or whatever, right? And up to this point, it's just been them. And if they're using EOS, they're usually the integrator because they were the champion for it. And a lot of times when I've hired that like operations leader or kind of general manager, more often than not, the plan is for them to take on the integrator role as well. So when you can talk about that kind of stuff with clients and you even know what the hell that is, it really helps you understand what they need. So
Absolutely.
I don't want to steal your thunder, but it comes up.
No, it happens a lot. So the fact that you see that in what they're looking for and know they run on EOS, that goes miles, because it is sort of its own little ecosystem with, acronyms and funky words. I was facilitating a talk yesterday at a Vistage group, and I was talking about rocks, which rocks are 90-day initiatives working on the business to help you meet your 1-year goal. And one of the guys looked at me, and he owns a water company, and he was like just looking. I'm like, oh, do you know what rocks are? He's like, no. I'm like, you're just thinking about water going around the rocks in the stream, are you? So just that visual.
I'm curious. A lot of the recruiters that are in our audience, there's firm owners as well. But we get a lot of folks who, as recruiters, right? It's cottage industry. So you get trained by somebody, get a few years of experience, and you say, well, I can do this on my own. So they go be independent. They can do it off their kitchen table, bill a few $100,000. They said, okay, they want to hire somebody. So they hire maybe an assistant or a junior recruiter, and they kind of start building from there, right? At what point, now I know that recruiters typically, where most of us, at least in the agency, we're gunslingers. Closing deals, salespeople, gunslingers.
Right, sure.
And creating a big wake, and I don't know what's going on back there. I'm just trying to close deals. So if that sort of mentality, right? As you start going, like, at what point should they start thinking about implementing a system like this?
I'm going to give you two answers since we're going two different ways. So first, I was a recruiter for two different agencies, one in Florida, one that was based out of Denver. And as soon as she brought me on and it was me and her, I started implementing parts of EOS because it was two of us that were also gunsling. I mean, I'm more of a visionary than an integrator. Although I have the baseline knowing that if you begin to have a process from the beginning, even if it's just you, it's not like you're going to have a meeting with just yourself, but having the numbers, it's a scorecard, having what you want to do in the next 90 days, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years, you map it out and it almost becomes like a vision board. And you're going like, so the scorecard is a weekly thing. Just think of the activities, right? What do you need to do weekly? What do you need to do quarterly? What do you need to do? You follow me? So as long as you know that, and you will go and look at it, like you can have it hanging on a wall. It's just a vision traction organizer. And if I were smart, I would have had one right in front of me, but of course I don't. Oh wait, that's a lie. Huh. Ta-da! This is a VTO. There we go. It has nasty handwriting on the front. That's why it's in front of me, because it's from my meeting this morning. But having that begins to put in a process where if you are the gunslinger, you're always looking ahead. What's next? That will be like the energy you need to keep doing what you're doing, knowing when you're off and how to. That's one side. The other side is if you have an agency or a firm, whichever, and you begin to see that you have hit a ceiling, meaning that what got you to, I'm just going to say, we'll just say 500,000. What got you to 500,000 won't take you to $1 million or 2 million or however big you want to be. And there's different parts of the EOS model, like knowing what you want each role in the organization to be. What are they accountable to? What is it that you can rely on people to ensure that they're doing what they're doing? How do you know that they are the right people, meaning they fit the core values? Having level 10 meetings so that every week you're on the same page and you're not working in a silo. Because honestly, with recruiters, you can be in a silo all day, every day. And maybe you talk to somebody, maybe you don't. If you have an assistant, you're probably talking to that person, but nobody else. So this is the time that it brings everybody together, working together as a team.
What's the level 10 be? Are there different levels in EOS?
So a level 10 meeting is a weekly meeting. It's a sort of part of a meeting pulse or meeting cadence where you meet with your team members and you follow a specific agenda. So it is, first you check in to help get you from working in the business on the business. You're double checking where you are with your scorecard, your rocks, any people headlines, like that could be new clients or something happening with someone in the organization. You're processing issues or things that we need to talk about and making sure that what was committed to last week is done. The reason they call it a level 10 is because if you followed that cadence, had it on the same day, same time, starting on time, ending on time, and using that agenda, we score everything in EOS, good or bad. And so you should get somewhere between an 8 and a 10 because everybody rates the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10. So if we did all the things,
the goal is level 10, right?
Yeah. So the goal is always having a 10, a 9 or a 10 every time. Anything that you get below an 8 needs to be talked about because that means we derailed.
Well, and that's interesting too, because how many meetings you go to where you just talk in circles and nothing happens and nobody remembers what they all agreed to last time. Like I would have these meetings, and when I had just me solo last several years, but I had a firm with a partner and several recruiters, and we would have like a meeting, and it would frustrate me because I'd be like, okay, you said you're going to do this, you said you're going to do this, where are we with that? And it's like, and the idea of maybe having an agenda ahead of time, and so that we can just get right to it. Right. And a lot of people, I think, experience that frustration. Not everybody knows how to run a good meeting too. I think, we got everybody together. And it's like, how do we make the best use of this time together before we go off and do our thing?
And why recreate the wheel if you don't have to? What I tell every prospective client that I talk to, when I'm doing, we call it a 90-minute meeting, which is just a presentation, learning about them, sharing about EOS, sharing the tools and so forth. Every company that I was with up until EOS, you would walk into a meeting, someone would bring something up, you would discuss it ad nauseum, you would run out of time or continue talking. But if you ran out of time, you'd leave, and that would just sit there and fester. And to your point, most of the time, no one comes up with any resolution. So it sits there and just becomes a cancer.
Or worse yet, you have no ability to act on it in that meeting, right? Like you're bouncing around. You're like, we need to know more about this. We need to know more about this. Like before we can, okay, then we should stop fucking talking about it.
Yes.
And go find out that information and then come back and now let's move on to the next thing.
Yes.
Well, maybe this and maybe that. How about no hypotheticals? How about maybe we go find the facts and then we come back together because we're just spinning our wheels.
And that's actually part of the rules with EOS. There aren't hypotheticals. And like there is an implementer that I teach that I have taught boot camp with. That's for people who want to be implementers. And she was like, each issue should only be 7 minutes. I'm not that strict because I know I have IDS with clients on something that's a really big thing, and it definitely took way more than 7 minutes. But you want to make sure, like when I'm with clients, I'm always hearing for an action item.
Well, and if you're a recruiter and like time is money, well, I mean, not that isn't for everybody else too.
Yeah, but I hear you.
Like, but if you're running a small recruiting firm and you got everybody, you want them producing, making stuff happen, like meetings that just spin in circles makes an owner insane because you're like, we're not making any money doing this.
Yes.
It's a bunch of jerks in a circle.
Yeah.
Just chatting, if you know what that is.
You've actually led some of those meetings, if I recall correctly. Sorry.
I was in college, man. I needed the money. But
I was there too. I understand.
Yeah, you were there. That's how we met. Our eyes met. Anyway. And
there it is.
I'm curious. A lot of, again, kind of higher. Well, we're gunslingers, as I mentioned, and I'm sure you see a lot in other industries too. We're not like special, but you're going to have a lot of folks, especially entrepreneurs, that are salespeople, right? They're out there getting things done. They're not the best planners. How do you get the buy-in for the folks who say, "Look, I'm too busy making money, too busy recruiting, too busy trying to get clients. I have no time to actually." Because I'd imagine this takes time to implement. Like, how do you get past that? Because I'd imagine it's a pretty big blocker for a lot of folks.
A lot of businesses, for sure. I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are lots of ways to implement EOS. The Vistage group I was with yesterday, there was a company that they self-implemented instead of using an implementer. And they said they had some success with it. So even if you just take one or two things to begin to implement, for recruiters, I'd look at a scorecard every day of the week. And what like rocks they have, that actually helps them with their goal. So as a recruiter, maybe I'm just being totally hypothetical. Maybe I need to place 3 people. That's my rock, right? So that is something, and you're meeting once a week to talk about it. Where are you? How can I help you? I'm the agency owner, right? Firm owner. How can I help you? Where are you finding gaps, right? So that doesn't take much time. And actually taking that time to do that saves a ton of time later on. And you can see where the results will land, right? If you're using an implementer like me, companies like recruiters or lawyers or doctors, I've also worked with wealth management. I've done it on weekends, and I'm not saying that's the most opportune thing. It's actually, I would say for certain agencies or organizations, it's great. Yeah, let's spend a day, once a quarter on a Saturday doing this to make sure that we can take less time spinning our wheels and more time what I call in the green. So I got green work and red work. Where you're not making money, it is red work. But the coolest thing with EOS is that the time that you're taking to do this increases your green time, so you're making a shit ton more money in the future. I've had one
a lot like. Sorry. Well, I imagine it's not like the old adage of sharpening your axe. You better to take 4 hours to sharpen your axe and cut for one, then it take 5 hours cutting with a dull axe, right? It takes more time, but ultimately you'll make more, you'll be more efficient.
Right.
Right. I imagine someone, but sorry to cut you out there. Go ahead.
No, there's a company that I work with that is based in Maryland, and they, within the first 9 months of working with me, their profit, I'm not even talking about top line, bottom line profit, went up 35%. They were the highest in that division was the highest in their company. So,
Really?
I mean, yeah, it works.
Huge.
The only time I've seen this not work is if you're not dedicated to the actions, right? And when companies work with me, I also have a team that comes with me that handle all back office stuff. So this way they're not spinning their wheels trying to figure stuff out where I'm like, no, just you got to do your thing. So it is really a good way to learn what you need to do, get help doing it, and then sort of launch on your own.
What are some of the big blockers? So when a company or a small firm embarks on this sort of journey, obviously the time one, obviously a factor, but beyond that, what are some of the big blockers that you tend to see that get in the way of implementing something like this?
So I'll give you a couple. So the first is if you have people that aren't bought into doing it. And here's the most interesting part of that. Think of the recruiter role, and you were talking about it earlier. AI, it's a threat to that industry, right? If you don't look at how you can use your unique abilities to ensure a successful future, I'll tell you that doesn't look like when I was a recruiter 10 years ago. It doesn't, right? So you have to change the way you're doing things. These tools that EOS gives you that that special weapon, right? It helps you with that. So it's when people aren't bought in and not taking it seriously, I'd say that's in the same bucket. And the other part that I have seen is, this is an interesting one. So I've got a company now, very different than recruiting, but like you have Gen 1 that is sort of like off in the owner's box. They just, they're doing their thing. And then second generation is running the business. Second generation digs so deeply into this, it's amazing. But the leadership team gets stuck because Gen 1 still is, it's almost like they're the puppeteers for the folks that really want to make stuff happen. So they're actually stalemated on making key and critical hires and making changes to 1980s processes and policies. And it just, you hit a wall. Those are the two big ones that I've seen.
Yeah, I could see that. I think, yeah, I could see, how if someone's been doing this for a long time, especially if it's leadership, it's first generation, and of course it's always hard to relinquish that control and to say, because obviously the way you did it is always better because that's how I built the business. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm sure you see a lot of if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of arguments.
Sure.
What are some of the, I guess, benefits to this? Because I know that, so story time for me. So I went through something similar, not EOS, but I did hire a company, like a few years ago to help me with my own operations, because that is a weak point of mine.
Yeah.
I'm a good sales guy, I'm a good marketing guy, I'm a good talker, blah, blah, but operation systems was tough for me. And so I spent the money, went through a coaching program, and it helped quite a bit. It didn't solve all my problems, but it solved a lot. So I know for me, it made me. I definitely see the power in it, right? I definitely see the power in it. It made me maybe more money, maybe more efficient, bought me back a lot of time. So obviously there's that. But I guess beyond that, what are some of the benefits that you see with the companies that you work with, and how soon can they start seeing results as well?
Good deal. Well, I shared about the 35% profitability with the one company. That money talks, right? One thing that, because you were also talking about the operations of your business, and as somebody who, similar to you, I'm about the deals, about making sure that my clients are happy, all that. when I'm with people like that, so I work with a commercial real estate company, and they have their office lead in on their EOS meetings, which has helped to ensure that they can still, like the sales folks can still do what they're doing. And the operations folks, they're documenting process, they're holding the meetings, they're ensuring action items or to-dos are being met. They are making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, which people that are on the go, that's not where their thoughts are. Giving them, like having that part of the business delegated to someone that is capable and they get it and they want it also, really helps from a revenue perspective, profitability perspective, getting your time back perspective. It is really helpful with that. You know, someone who owns a firm, they want to be out, you know, out in the community, shaking hands, meeting the right types of companies. They don't want to be entering stuff in a CRM. So it helps in so many different ways. You can work in where you should be focusing your time, having somebody else do the stuff that should be delegated to, which helps revenue, profit, retention, your sanity.
One thing that I noticed with a lot of the EOS stuff I've seen, again, not being in a company that did it, but working with a lot who have, you know, when you think about like delegating that, like the thing that gives you the comfort to go out in the community and go, you know, be that rainmaker and know that the stuff is getting done the way you want it. And that it's, you know what I mean? Because that's a lot of the, like letting go of some of that, right?
Yes.
So a lot of the accountability aspects, right? And also even like the boundaries, like, you know, it's interesting when you see like a job description from an EOS company, because it'll mention like role boundaries, right? Which is, here's the stuff they're not responsible. Like in my observation, it's a very good way to make it very clear who's supposed to be doing what and to what standard and to what outcome, which I think helps like a control freak like me, because I'm like David, like we're all three of us are the same. We just want to go out and make stuff happen. I create a tornado, money comes out, but it's a mess, right? And you can try to have people clean it up after you, but that you also done the way that you want it done. But you know, so it's tough. So I think clarity helps with trust, right?
Yeah.
So that clarity provided by that framework, I think, is one of the biggest factors, because if you're going to like let go pieces that you are doing in order to trusting that it's done the way you would do it or would like it done, that enables some of that, right? And that's one of the things. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've seen, because a lot of the founders I work with were like the same types of people. Right?
Yeah.
Like they got a business going. They were out slinging whatever they sling and started making money and started hiring people. And now they're trying to get out of the way, and easier said than done.
It is. So I'm going to say a couple things. One, when they're talking about the roles, there is in EOS something called an accountability chart. An accountability chart looks like an org chart, but it's not. An org chart is wrapped around a person's name and their title and who reports into them and who they report to. That's about people. EOS looks at the structure of the business and how people want it to be, not the way it is. So if you have Jackie, who is in charge of sales, you guys love her. She's been with you since the beginning, great cultural fit. She is good at closing deals, building relationships, but she is horrible at reporting and forecasting and, you know, any type of comparatives, anything like that. If you were to build an accountability chart and you're building the head of sales, you would probably have something in there regarding business plan, budget, reporting, things like that. If you're doing an org chart, you wouldn't. So that doesn't help the business. So we look at building an accountability chart with those roles or 5 expectations. I usually put the roles as what are the 5 things you expect from that person. And you could build a job description from it. But it really puts in parameters what it is, and that creates accountability, right? So that's exactly what you're talking about. The other thing that I will share, and this, it's not, well, it is EOS, but it's not. The biggest thing that happens with companies is the communication that they receive. What a CEO thinks they're putting out and what is received or perceived is entirely different. So making sure you got those lines of communication open is huge. So we talked about the level 10 meetings, but with myself and my assistant, this is probably overdose for many people. I talk to her at least twice a day with the things I've delegated to her. A lot of the companies that I work with, especially if they're bringing on an assistant, because they're like, oh my gosh, we've got all these things and we need someone to help with it. I introduce them to an organization called Efficient Aid, and they are thrilled with the virtual assistance that they get. But that communication has to be there, because otherwise you're going to be disappointed all the time and you're never going to be able to let go of the vine.
Yeah, so I get that. I know that me, for example, like I've got 12, 13 people working with me or for me, and I know that at times, if I'm in the hunt from closing deals, trying to get client projects done, I tend to it's really hard for me not to do this. I tend to box myself in. I put my head down and don't bother me. Don't talk to me. And I know that me as a leader, that's one of my weak points is communicating more with my team, right? And that is so I guess let me ask you, what advice would you give me? So let's say I was your client, and that was one of my big issues. What advice would you give to me to be a better communicator with the team?
So first, the level 10 would be helpful. Once a week, everybody getting on the same page. But as a leader, I would also, and you have to do this within the time that you will commit to. I always have one-to-ones. It's for you, maybe it's a daily huddle where you talk about things, and then an end of day huddle. Or from a one-to-one perspective, if you know that and I'm just being totally hypothetical, from 7 to 8:30, you can take 3 days, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 o'clock a.m. to 8:30 p.m., and that's when you have your one-to-ones. You're disseminating the information, you are obtaining information, you're giving feedback, you're asking for feedback also. But those, for my team, less with my bookkeeper, but with the person who is my practice manager, I talk to her twice a day, every day.
Right. It's a set time that they've got access to you.
Yes.
That you structured so you make your best use of it, and then you go do what you got to do.
Yeah, then you can go into your box. Maybe you're in your box from, I don't know, you went and had a cup of coffee from 8:30 to 8:45. You looked at your plan, whatever, and by 9 o'clock, you're doing whatever you're doing. Maybe that goes until 3 o'clock, so 9 to 3. And then if there was something that was missed in the morning, maybe you're capturing it then. It's time management, but really you want to make sure that you're getting what you want from your people. And the way to do that is to ensure that the communication is fluid. And what I have found also with that, I'm sorry, I know you were just.
Oh, sure, no, good. Go for it.
What I have found, and it's so hilarious because with How to Be a Great Boss, we teach how to do questions and how to have the one-to-ones. But sometimes when I'm talking to my practice manager, I'm just dumping. Like, here's what I need to do here, 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 here. That is not a one-to-one. That is Jackie being a seagull. That's seagull management, right? So to do it properly, which I try to do, as much as possible, except when I'm seagulling, is making sure that I'm asking open-ended questions so they can just they can feel like they have control of the conversation.
The only problem with that open-ended questions is that they're going to start talking like a shit I need to say. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like, oh boy.
That's the flaw, Jackie. That is the flaw.
So you know how you fix that? I got to tell you, this was brilliant, and I wish I could say it's for me, but I steal all the time. Okay, so I'm asking you this question. I need this in 10 words or less. Answer it in 10 words or less.
Oh.
I stole it.
I like that.
Stole it.
That is great. I'm gonna try that. All right. So beyond that. So all right. So So we talked about meetings. We talked about kind and communication. What about reporting? Because I know that we talked about I forget what you called it. Not the org chart, but the responsibility chart, right?
The accountability chart, yeah.
Okay, accountability chart. How does reporting work, right? Because I know that in the org chart you report into the person that's oversees you, but if you're talking about like these are my accountabilities, does it still flow through an org chart? Is that how you report?
It does. It does. So you still have, like, if I keep going back to sales, we could go to COO. If I'm the COO, I have got these people that report into me. We as a leadership team put together what those roles look like. So the same responsibilities that I have on me, we're putting onto, like, if you're interviewing me, if you're a headhunter, it's a brilliant thing because this way you're interviewing around the 5 roles in a seat. That would be brilliant to have from a seat perspective. So yeah, it still has the people that report into each of the people with what they are accountable to. It mitigates gaps, and it also mitigates duplication of efforts.
And also, what about rocks? I've heard you mention that a few times, and I'm not. I can't say I'm familiar with the EOS to that rocks. From my understanding, those are your 90-day goals, right? Like your sprints, if I remember correctly. Okay, so walk me through that because that's actually because I've done the 90-day year. I've read the book. I try to implement it, and it's great, right? Is that similar? Or for those folks who don't know what that is, I guess you can explain what that is, the benefit of the 12-week year or the rocks or however you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that VTO or Vision Traction Organizer that I showed you guys earlier, you start with like, what are your core values? What's your core focus? Your 10-year target. 10-year target, think BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. What's your North Star? We go from there to a 3-year picture. Where do we want to be in 36 months? Down to a 1-year plan. What do we need in 1 year? With most companies, they might have a 3-year, they might have a 1 year, but then it's like a spray and pray with how we're going to get it done. With EOS, we have items on the scorecard to help us reach it, and also 90-day rocks. Rocks are 90-day goals or initiatives, really where you're working on the business to ensure that you meet those 1-year plans. There are plenty of companies that have 3 or 4 goals. They're not written very specifically, and they're not attainable. I mean, people like me, I'm like, oh yeah, I know I'll probably hit 1 million, but I'm going to I want 1.5 million with no plan to get there, right? The 90 days helps to provide a plan quarter by quarter to ensure that you meet your 1-year plan.
Okay, understood. Is that something where you could? So I've heard, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard when you do that, you need like 1 rock. It's something that you need to focus on one thing only. Is that the case?
With EOS, so I will tell you what it says in the book, and then I'm going to tell you how I do it.
Okay.
So in the book, it says somewhere between 3 and 7 rocks. So interestingly, when I go to a new client and they've read the book, they're trying to get all these rocks. And here's the thing, and this is the way I explain it. For the executive team, or let's just say for a firm, you probably would want a few for the firm total, but you wouldn't be accountable for all of them. You might be accountable for 1 or 2. Maybe you're delegating some stuff from there to ensure it's done. Maybe there's a couple other people that have a rock as well. When you're with a bigger company, so now think about your clients, they have a bigger company. So they might have 1 or 2 as a company rock, and then departmentally, they might have a couple more. That's sort of where the 3 to 7 comes from.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, but I could see where you have too many because you're really split your focus quite a bit, especially again for recruiters who just have very little time. And I definitely know what that's like. What about data and tracking? I know you talked about I've read some of your stuff before the interview, and I know that you talk about scorecards, for example.
Yeah.
How would you use scorecards in doing this? Mm-hmm.
Oh, You guys are the bomb because like it is like for you, a scorecard can show, especially if you own a firm, where you might be dropping the ball. So for you, I'd probably, if I am getting new clients, right? Do I have the industry targeted? So how many target future, like we could just start with contacts. How many people have you reached out to? Or like, I like it deeper than that. How many people with a future date? Like, so I've talked to you and you're like, oh yeah, thank you. Let's have another call in a week. So there's something in the future. So we've had that conversation. How many verbal, verbal yeses I've had, contracts out, contracts received. That's what I would do for the trying to get the client side. From the recruiting side of candidates, how many outward contacts were made, how many returns, how many future dates are there, how many like interviews or I forgot what you call it when you go out.
Send outs they used to call
them. That's it, send outs. Yes. You said used to, I guess you don't call it that anymore, right?
There used to be an ATS called send outs long ago.
It was send outs. That's exactly what we used to call it.
So, in fact, real quick, I will say this. Yeah. So when I was the MR, so I started with managed recruiters way back in the day, and back when I was like a raw and wriggling newbie recruiter, I was told that an interview a day keeps the manager away.
Yes.
Right, you can interview a day, keeps the manager away.
Yeah. So I'd be doing that all day, every day. I mean, how many send outs, how many telephone interviews, how many offer letters sent out, how many, like you guys have the perfect way. You could go deep, you can go not so deep. But one of the things that I have found, not just with recruiting, but anytime I've managed like salespeople, particularly salespeople, the more you can get in there to like, especially if someone isn't meeting their goals, the better it will be to find where the gap is. So, you can spend your time training in the place that you should be.
Oh, that was one. Yeah. Like when I had recruiters working for me, I think a lot of people who worked for like, especially bigger firms or had recruiters work for them. It was very clear where the breakdown was, because you'd kind of have certain normal ratios that kind of tended to happen. And then if you knew if something was off, like, okay, well, I'm not going to make any place. And I used to, the goals weren't based on placements. My goals for the team were based on interviews. I didn't call them send outs because at that point it was old, but
obviously
happening because what's going to lead to, a hire, right? Like leading indicators. The more people we have interviewing, better our odds, right? Okay, you don't have a lot of people interviewing, so let's take a look at your submittals. All right, maybe those are light. All right, let's take a look at how many calls you made, emails you made, that kind of thing. And then you could drill in and like, okay, you did a ton of calls, but you didn't get a lot of submittals. Why? Okay, well, let's take a look at the messaging. Maybe you're saying the wrong thing. Maybe you're calling the wrong people, right? Like you can drill in along the process and usually, identify where the bottleneck is.
Yeah. Exactly. Same thing. What I love about the scorecard is that it's also discussed in the weekly meeting, in the level 10 meeting. So this way you're trying everything that you need to do not to have any numbers that you didn't hit, right? Because there's a weekly goal that you want to hit.
I'm curious, for a company starting down this journey, obviously they can implement themselves, or they can hire somebody like you to actually help them implement. If they, what would you say the differences are between trying to self-implement versus having an implementer there? What's the value in hiring somebody like you to actually implement some of this stuff?
Absolutely. So what the guy yesterday at the Vistage meeting told me is like, it was very, very difficult to try to teach it when I was trying to learn it at the same time. When you have an implementer, whether it's me or anybody else, the CEO actually is in that learning seat as a team member within the group, instead of trying to teach it, lead it, and learn it all at the same time. And here's you will be able to get some forward moving traction by self-implementing. There are lots of companies that do it. When you have an implementer, you also have access over time to a huge amount of tools that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. What we've been talking about over this time are the foundational tools, but there's this whole part, like if 84% of issues are on 2 feet, we have a ton of tools to help with leading, managing, and accountability outside of the ones we just talked about. And that really comes from an implementer. Also, I've got 900 other people like me. So if I have a question, because let's just say I got a question I don't have an answer to, maybe something industry specific, I just can go to that group of 900, ask the question, and have 2 or 3 referrals, 2 or 3 answers within a few minutes. I love it. And I with the boot camp that I'm teaching at the end of February, the guy I was talking to today, he will be in my class. He was like, he has bought and sold 4 companies. He's like, my X factor would be so much greater if I had any of these. He's like, I got every type of bump and bruise I could get because I didn't have the tools and I didn't know otherwise.
Interesting. Well, I gotta wonder doing that. Have you ever had ego issues? 'Cause I would imagine that you're gonna have some CEOs that they want to be the experts in everything. That you want to be and to have somebody else come in and have them being taught in real time with the people. I have to imagine even if they hire you, there has to be like ego issues that you had to deal with clients, right? Gotta be.
Yeah. So like when you were first a recruiter, you would take anything.
Yeah.
And now you're like, I don't know if this is going to be a fit.
Mm-hmm.
The people. So if you look in the traction book, they will say our perfect client is anywhere between 10 to 250 employees, privately held company. I will tell you that myself and most of the people that I know that do what I do, what we look for is people that don't have that ego and that want to grow and know that what will take them to the next level isn't what they've done so far. They're going to have to look at change and be open to change. So you're right, and there are those people out there, but we have one life to live, and I would definitely probably not work with somebody who had that. But in the beginning, I'd be like, oh yeah, whatever you want, I'll do. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Shit all over my
yeah. I know for me, I've dealt with clients that have been nightmares in the past. I definitely get your point there. All right, so for those recruiters who are, or even search firm owners that are looking to start down this process, right? So maybe they're not ready to start implementing the full EOS package yet, but they just want to start getting more organized. What can they start doing this year, this spring, to start trying to rein in all this chaos on their desk? So
with I've done a couple podcasts with companies that focus on recruiters. And so I'll offer you the same thing. If they have any questions, they can email me. They can go to my microsite. I am happy to have a free conversation with anybody to help them with what they want to do. I would say the VTO would be the first thing to kind of create that vision that you want. That's what I would start with every day. I mean, even before I was an implementer, I put together a VTO, and it just crystallizes and energizes you for what the next year, 90 days, 3 years can look like. That's what I would start with.
By the way, folks watching this, to connect with Jackie, you can go to implementer.eosworldwide.com/Jackie-Kibler. It's big, so if you either screenshot it, we'll also make sure to include the link down in the show notes in the comments below. Jackie, thank you much for being on. I really appreciate it.
It was a blast. I know, and you hear mine. Yeah. This was a ton of fun. I really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, and likewise. Was there is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to add for the folks watching this, starting to again just go down this operational systematizing journey? Any last thoughts?
Absolutely. So there's never a right day. Just like there's never a right day to go on a diet or never a right day to work out, there is never a right day to start. So start today.
Excellent. All right, Jackie, thank you very much. It's great to have you on. And all right, well, that said, everybody watching this, thank you very much for watching. Again, if you're watching live, make sure you comment live. If you watch the replay, comment replay. Share the show with everyone that you know. Give us a like, give us a comment. We love the interaction, and everybody will see you next time. Bye, folks.
Bye.